Would you rather fish by yourself or with somebody? Good morning, guys and girls. January 6th. Our reading this morning is from Matthew 28:20. I will be with you always, even until the end of the age. That's Jesus talking. I will be with you always, even until the end of the age. You know, fishing is a sport most enjoyed with somebody else. Sure, you can go fishing alone, you can have fun, but it's always more enjoyable with a friend or another member of your family. My closest fishing partner is my wife, Chris. My most memorable days fishing are not great tournament victories, but days spent with her or fishing with my kids, and now my grandkids. God never intended us for it to be alone. Never. That's why he sent Jesus. That's why that when we are saved, God places his Holy Spirit inside of us. He's with us all the time, no matter what. No matter how isolated or how alone we may feel at times, Jesus is always there. All we need to do is call on him. You know, when someone is lost in the woods, when they're lost out in the desert, when they're lost, they always call on Jesus, no matter what. They call on Jesus. You know, I've heard of people, having wrecks and running off the road and being stranded. Nobody could see them down there, and yet they still, get back, Milburn, get back, buddy. And yet they still call on Jesus. Our tip for the day is vertical jig your old stump jumpers, your crappie jigs during the winter months to catch more crappie. Vertically jigging, we're talking about fishing straight up and down. In other words, just opening your bail, dropping your bait right straight down and jigging up and down. I like to go down to the bottom and then kind of work my way up, maybe 1.5 or 2 turns at a time, stop, jig. And you always want to jig your rod tip down. In other words, you never want to jerk up with your rod tip. You always want to punch down on it. That means your bait, it falls and it bounces. It falls and it bounces. And that really drives them crazy. I like to also, a lot of times, what I'm doing is I'm jigging that thing down, and I'll take and just hit my rod right in front of my reel, just like that, hit my rod, and it'll cause that Roadrunner or old stump jumper or your crappie jig or whatever you use, it'll cause it just to jump around a little bit down there. And it works really, really well when you're doing that. Crappie fishing in the wintertime, the main thing is getting on that depth, getting that bait down there, and keeping it down there right exactly the depth that they are. Remember that in the wintertime, they lay in layers. There'll be a layer maybe a couple, 2 or 3 foot deep, maybe only a foot deep, and that layer of crappie moves up and down. So depth is very, very important. So once you figure out that depth, vertically jig your baits down in them, you're gonna catch a fish. We actually did a video for YouTube about that just here a couple months ago, so you might check that out, pick up a few more tips. Guys and girls, I hope you have a great day out there, have a lot of fun, and let me tell you, fishing in the wintertime can be great, especially for crappie. It's one of the best times of the year because they bunch up. The bass do the same thing, but it's one of the best times of the year to catch crappie. They bunch up, you can catch a bunch of them. Vertically jigging is one of the best way to catch them. Remember this, those crappie are never alone, and you're never alone. Hey guys and girls, I love you.